You don't say much.
Yeah. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be long.
Well, he's my friend. Told him to leave at 6:30.
I'm gonna leave Ricky. I'm
We
gonna
just-
suggest. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna have to look on your sign ordinance if we go. I think Jeremy's just gonna recommend we send it to the council like it is. Doesn't change anything. He said we're gonna sit here and argue about it. He said let's let the city council argue about it. I said, that sounds great.
All right, everyone, it's 5:30. I'm going to call this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission together. I'd like to welcome everybody who's here tonight. We do have a full agenda, so we want to get started on this. One thing I do want to make everybody aware of is that if you do have an agenda, items 6 and 7 have been pulled. So we will not be discussing items 6 and 7. So our first order of business tonight is to consider approval of the minutes of the June 14th, 2017 meeting. Is there any discussion on this?
Just a technical glitch. Oh, never mind. You know what? Never mind. I'm wrong.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the approval of the minutes as they are.
So moved.
Motion was moved and made by Meta Collier, seconded by Mr. Petronis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And this motion passes. Okay, our next order of business tonight is a public hearing on case number RZ 2017-002. Jeremy?
Applicant Austin Pack is requesting a rezone of property located at 1092 West Tarleton Street, being lot 1A, 1B, 14B, and part of 14A, block 16 of 5400 Park Place addition to the city of Stephenville, Erath County, from R3 multifamily residential to B1 neighborhood district. Mr. Pack's wife currently owns University Flowers on West Washington. They would like to put the shop in the Victorian house at that location. Staff does not recommend this rezone at this location. According to state law, we should be following our comprehensive plan, future land use, and future land use does not call for that to be a neighborhood district. That's all I got. If you got questions, I think they're here and they can answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. I'm now going to open a public hearing, and I'd like to invite anybody here who would like to speak in favor of this this ordinance, or this case rather, to come forward and state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to talk to us.
My name is Carrie Pack. I have owned University Flowers and College Etc. on Washington Street for 5 years, and my husband and I purchased the house on the corner of Tarleton and Ollie, hoping that we could put the flower shop there. I am in the process of getting a historical marker for the house. I want it to stay the way that it is. I'm not going to change anything about the house. I think it's beautiful. And the other 3 corners on that intersection are zoned neighborhood business. So that's really all that I have.
All right.
Have any questions?
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Ms. Pack?
Just the other three corners, is that an error, or like, two of them are green, two of them are purple, is that what you're talking about? This corner, this intersection?
Yes. The, directly in front of the 1092, where it's still green,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is currently a student center for the Church of Christ, I believe.
But our comprehensive plan has that as a multifamily residential, R3.
So it's incorrectly zoned R3 for what's there?
It's probably like a legal non-conforming use, but the overlay, the future land use is an R3.
What would you be doing about parking?
Parking, there is a large backyard space that I have had plans drawn up to put a parking lot there. There's a fence there, and so that it would remain hidden from the street by a wooden fence.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome,
Just-
thank you.
Just one other comment. Typically, churches, residential in that neighborhood would be allowed if it was a church, so.
Or was that the photo, the next photo, or whatever it was?
That's our future land use, that's what it's calling for.
What's that?
It's our future land
That's
use,
the future
yeah,
land use.
right.
Is there anybody else here in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this case? Hearing none, is there anybody here who would like to speak in opposition of this case? Have you filled out the form? Please come to the microphone, and if you would, please state your name and your address, and then tell us why you're here, please.
My name is Karen Finney. I live at 1060 West Tarleton Street. We are opposed to this because, not because of the type of business, but because once it becomes business zoned, anything could be in there after that. I have young children, you know. The gentleman that owns a flower shop also owns a tattoo parlor. I know he's not requesting that, but, you know, our interest is to keep it zoned as a residential neighborhood. So that's all I have.
Great. Commissioners, do you have any questions with Karen?
Are y'all gonna live there and work there? Just be business.
Thank you, Ms. Finney.
Thank you.
I believe we have one more.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, ladies. My name is Steve Crew. I've resided at 1080 West Tarleton now for about 12 years. I have the largest property line adjoining I guess it's the 1092 property? Yes. And the neighbors who were there before, real close couple, we were close to them. We're close to the Finneys on the other side of us. And I believe that a neighborhood should stay a neighborhood. I'm not against progress by no means, but there are places for progress to be and where they shouldn't be, in my opinion. This is not against the lady and gentleman personally. It's just the fact that, you know, Karen stated it herself, that it would be something of what would be in the future. Businesses fail all the time, not that theirs would, but I plan on being here a lot longer than 12 years. And I like where I live, I love the neighborhood, and neighbors are important in this aspect to me and my family. I've graduated 3 children through Stephenville High School, and I have 2 of them attending Tarleton myself. One of the things that concern me about this particular property is that the elevation of the property is above our privacy fence line. So anytime that they would come in towards, say, the back door, you see over our privacy fence into our backyard. I would kind of like to know the people were able to see into my backyard. The previous neighbors did, and they were wonderful people, and they still are, not that they're not. But things change, I understand that. But as far as that goes, I am against the rezoning change. I would like to keep it zoned the way it is. And that's all I have at this time.
Are there any questions of Mr. Crew? Thank you very much, sir. Is there anybody else here in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing on this issue, on this case, and open it up to discussion among the commissioners. Commissioners?
I recommend that we recommend to the city council to not approve the rezone of 1092 Tarleton Street according to state law and also according to the Stephenville Comprehensive Plan.
You're making a motion on this, Mr.
Yes.
Petronas. All right. Motion has been made by Mr. Petronas not to approve case number RZ 2017-002. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second has been made by Meta Collier on case number RZ 2017-002. We're now going to vote. Make sure I get this right. All those in favor, let me see if I can get this, all those in favor of not approving this case, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those opposed? This motion passes to not to recommend this. So, thank you very much. Our next issue is the public hearing on case number PZV 2017-001. Jeremy?
Applicant Florentino Mendez is requesting a variance from the City of Stephenville subdivision ordinance, section 5.13, subsection 6, in order to install an on-site sewage facility, a septic system on a lot being less than 1 acre in size, located on 2612 West Lincolnville Road, being a .809 acre tract of land out of the Jarrett Menifee Survey Abstract, City of Stephenville. Base of the section is, if sanitary sewer, public sewer is not available, the minimum size of lots served by a septic system shall be 1 acre. And as I stated, this is less than 1 acre, so he's asking for a variance so he can put in a septic system. The sanitary sewer is a pretty good distance. He's looking to do like an office type building there, and so that it would be cost prohibitive to run a line there. So sewer is not available, and so he's looking for the variance from the subdivision ordinance.
Okay. I'm now going to open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody here who wishes to speak in favor of this variance. Sir, please come to the microphone.
Afternoon. I'm Dave Dickerson. I live at 124 Blue Jay in the city in Stephenville. I'm a broker for the buyer of this. It's a Edward D. Jones office complex they want to put on there. And we looked at developing the septic around it, and you can see all the buildings around there are on septic. We have no sewer there at all. If you build in the county, and by state law, you can utilize, if you've got water, you can put it on as little as a half acre. So I think this variance is well within reason to pass. And unless there's some questions, that's all I've got to say.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Dickerson?
No. I have one for you.
Okay. I do have a question. Have you had any conversations with Higginbothams on how do they operate? Are they on septic also?
Yeah, all the surrounding buildings right there in that map on your map,
Mhm.
they're all on septic.
Okay.
You can see your septic lines run over on Dale Street, which is over 300 feet.
Right.
And then they're a crossover in the Golf Country Estate, which you'd have to come under the highway. So they're all meet the distance criteria for not doing it if you have 1 acre. And we're right at that 1 acre limit right now.
Just short of that.
Yeah, just short of it.
Just out of curiosity, when there is a problem with the septic system, how much are you required to pay for repairs? Is it, you fix the whole thing, or?
Yeah,
is
but
it-
the person owning it will have to take care of the
Person
septic.
owning it
It's
will have to
totally
do
his
that.
cost. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Are there any other questions?
Jeremy, let me ask you this, when do we anticipate that city sewer will be out of that area? Anytime soon?
We currently have no plans for it. Typically, when, when there's a development out there, development would extend the lines. And if they extend the lines and they're crossing other property lines, they set up a pro rata or something of those sorts. We currently don't have any plans. That would typically be something a developer would extend the lines out there.
Why then would we not require them to extend the lines?
I mean, that's something if this variance is denied, they would have to look at as far as an option. We're varying from the subdivision, based on what we have here. If you guys choose not to grant that variance, that would be the option they'd have to look at.
How close is our sewer system to this location?
Depending on which way you're coming from, if you're coming from the north, if you're coming from the top side of that, it's roughly, they would have to pull it all the way over to Hickenbach, to that corner, so it's roughly about 1,000 feet. If they came from the south, I think they're looking at about 1,400 feet. If you came from across Dale Street, you're still looking at some extended costs, not only to pull it, but to go underneath Lingoville. So, it depends on who you talk to and what kind of quotes you're looking at. I mean, you could be looking at anything from $50,000 to $100,000. I mean, maybe less, but those are the type of numbers you're looking at for an office building to put in. So, they could set up some pro rata with the other businesses. That's an option for them if you guys choose not to grant the variance.
What would be potentially the city's obligation to put in the sewer system?
And we don't currently have an obligation to. And we'd like to be able to offer services to everybody that's in the city, but, as far as we currently don't have any plans. Now, this septic system will meet all TCEQ requirements in order to be installed, so they'll have to meet all the setbacks and all that. Just wanted to add that I forgot earlier, so.
Can I make a comment on that? All of those buildings that are on septic there have been paying city water and sewer for 20 to 30 years anyhow. So why doesn't the city have obligation to bring septic to it? That's a throw-out question. That clouds the issue, but we see this all the time. And if you have a developer develop it now, who's to say you can make those other businesses get on it, and how long is that going to take in pro rata? And I can tell you this deal won't go through if we don't get the variance. Mr. Mendez was led to believe when he bought that, and I'm not representing Mr. Mendez, but he bought that, and he was going to put in a rock yard, which required none of these facilities. And the residents didn't want a rock yard there, so he's eating this piece of property to sell it. And it's a very, it's gonna create a tax base for the city if we put this in. It's gonna be an office deal, it'll upgrade that area. So that's where we're at on it.
Thank you, Mr. Dickerson. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I'll now ask if there's anybody here who wishes to speak in opposition of this case. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and I will turn this back to commissioners. Are there any other questions among the commissioners? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion on this variance.
I move to approve this variance.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made by Lisa and seconded by Bill Muncy to approve this variance. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of approving this, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? This variance passes. What? No, this is, if we approve requesting a variance from the city.
Still will have to go to the city council
Yeah,
for
yeah.
variance as
Sorry.
well.
Okay. Our next case is a public hearing, case number RRP 2017-001.
Applicant James Thurman is requesting a replat of lots 1 and 14, a portion of 13, block 14 of Park Place addition to the city of Stephenville, Erath County, Texas. Lots 1R and 14R, block 14 of the Park Place addition to the city of Stephenville, Erath County. Of course, as you can see, the property for which the variance is requested is surrounded by multifamily to the north, south, and east, and to the west. Staff has no objections to this replat.
Thank you, Jeremy. I'm now going to open up the public hearing. If there's anybody here who wishes to speak in favor of this replat, please come forward and state your name.
How are y'all doing today? I'm James Thurman. I've lived at 1093 West Lund for 13 years, and about 4 years ago I purchased the property behind me. There's a structure on the corner, which is a rent house. Adjacent to that is a garage and apartment that's really dilapidated and pretty much needs to be torn down. We'd like to, and with the replat is what we want to do is we want to put a family pool in the garage. We parked our cars outside for 13 years, gotten beat by hail and everything else. We just like a place to park them. I've taken consideration for a parking issue as well for that rent house. I'm leaving the front of that with the driveway, so they do have parking off the street, so I'm not clogging the street up with vehicles. I went through price surveying for the replat, and I turned in the city ordinances for setbacks, what I was asking for. He was supposed to follow all of the city ordinances on setbacks, where everything needs to go, as far as where we can put fences and not. So, if there's any questions y'all have for me.
Are there any questions for Mr. Thurman? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I'll now ask, is there anybody here who wishes to speak in opposition to this replat? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing, and I will turn this back to commissioners. Commissioners, do you have any comments on this? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion on this replat.
I move that we approve RRP 2017-001.
I'll second.
A motion has been made by Nick and seconded by Kerry on case number RRP 2017-001. All those in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None. Thank you very much. As we said earlier, numbers 6 and 7 are no longer on the agenda. Our next case is case number FP 2017-003. Jeremy?
Blue Sky Subdivision's proposed 2.53 acre development. The owner has submitted a final plat for this development. The property is located at FM 205, private road 1098, which falls within the ETJ. The city has an interlocal agreement entered to in accordance with Interlocal Agreement Chapter 791, Texas Government Code, Section 242.001, Texas Local Government Code, by and between the city of Stephenville and Erath County. Basically just saying that we have joint regulations, all subdivisions of land. This property has been used before. It had never been platted before. So that's why we're going through this platting process, so they can develop that land out there. Staff has no objections to this replat, or to this plat, final plat.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. I'm now going to open up the public hearing. If there's anybody here who wishes to speak in favor of this application for a final plat of the Blue Sky subdivision.
My name's Larry Hayda, and I'm the engineer and surveyor working this development. I just, since it is an ETJ, that's why we come through the city for the plat,
and we've gone through the county, with a development plan to put on there too. And there's any question that we've got to try and answer.
Okay, commissioners, are there any questions for Mr. Hayda? Hayda, are there any questions for Mr. Hayda? All right, thank you, sir. If you
Thank you.
would, have you filled out one of these? If you haven't, please fill one out so we can have it for our records.
All right, I will.
Thank you very much. All right, is there anybody here who wishes to speak in opposition of this final plat? Hearing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing, and I will open this up to comments among the commissioners. Are there any comments? All right. I'll entertain a motion on this case number FP 2017-003.
I move that we approve FP 2017-03.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was that, the second? All right, motion has been made to approve the final plat of the Blue Sky subdivision, case number FP 2017-003 by Nick, seconded by Mr. Petronis. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hayden. Okay. Now we're gonna move into the sign ordinance. So,
All right.
before we get too far into this, at our last workshop, we bounced around a lot, talking about different signs in different areas and from one end of the ordinance back to the other. What I wanna do is to be able to, or what I would like for us to do is to be able to bring a unified document to the city council, at the next meeting. The way I would like to run this tonight is, I would like to break this down into sections. We're gonna start with pages 1 through 5, and then at that time, I'll entertain a motion for any amendments for pages 1 through 5, and then we will talk about those and vote on them at that time. At the end of all of our discussion on each section, then we'll take a final vote on the sign ordinance with the changes as voted on. Yes, I'm sorry. I do have somebody who wishes to speak, Ms. Zachary. I'm gonna open up the public hearing.
Thank you, appreciate the time. My name's Sharon Zachary, and I live at 649 East Long Street. I wanted to speak tonight. I'm in favor of the sign update. Generally, it's something that's been needed to be done. But I wanted to ask that it be made as business-friendly as possible. I'm grandfathered in with my business, so I'm just speaking as a concerned business owner and on behalf of other theoretical business owners who might come in. I think probably 90% of the signage issue that you are all trying to address involves retail businesses. Most office buildings have a nice discreet little whatever they have out there. It is retail business that's all about the, hey, here we are, and and letting people know. But that is the lifeblood of the retail business, is the visibility, is attracting your customers to come in, is getting somebody off that street to turn in and park and make use of your business. And it is the businesses, all of them, including the non-retail, who pay the sales tax and do these things that are and property taxes that are the lifeblood of keeping the city going. So I don't want any impediments to that flow of income to the city. I'd rather honestly see all of our currently vacant retail locations, of which we just have a ton. I think if I was given a choice between those retail locations filled with an active business plastered all over with signs and banners and whatnot, and I'm exaggerating for effect, of course, but I would rather have that than those businesses be empty because signage was an issue. According to Small Business Analysis in 2012, I was just doing some, quick Dr. Google stuff, 80% of employment is provided by small businesses with 20 or fewer employees. And so these are not big multinationals that can afford expensive signs, that can afford the specific, nice things that we would like to see. So bear that in mind, please. It's also true that new job growth is provided by new startups, because duh, because you already have the jobs there. And new businesses, but after 5 years, nearly 80% of those have gone out of business again. It's the older plodding along businesses that plod in day after day after day that bring the steady income in. And again, it is their, the advertising is important to them. I had a couple of specific issues that I wish you all would consider regarding the sign ordinance. The signs and banners, I understand when they get raggedy and torn down and nobody's taking them down, something needs to be done about that. But I think that some of what is in the ordinance itself is still kind of onerous for people to follow with the permitting and some of those sorts of things. I also think, I know y'all dropped frontage, but I think it can and does matter. It's one of the constituents, which you may not have thought about, of property values. A location that someone is trying to sell, say somebody's got a little narrow access on the highway, but his bulk of his property's back here, and the guy next door's got a new long skinny lot with the frontage. Because of the nature of how you attract people's attention, that is a factor in the property value for that tends to get overlooked. It's part of, when they say location, 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 they're also talking about your frontage visibility, and along with that goes your sign visibility. And then the other thing I wanted to address is the landscaping issue, which I think is just beautiful, and it is the corporate places do such a gorgeous job, some of them, of what they do, but it's also the first thing that gets jettisoned if there's an employee shortage and nobody's out there weeding or watering, if they're hand watering and they don't have it, if they're doing it with a hose or a sprinkler or something. And it is also very vulnerable if you haven't landscaped, if you haven't put cactus out there. It's vulnerable when there's droughts. It's vulnerable to freezing, and then your cactus is dead. And we have both of those extremes here in Stephenville. We've had droughts and we've had freezings where I've seen blackened cactus and stuff sitting around. So I think that it was suggested at the city council meeting last night that perhaps be changed from a requirement to more of a suggestion. It would sure be nice if you would, make your signs have some landscaping there. And I realize that's separate from, because the building requirement is, what did we discuss last night? It's 15% of your new building has to be devoted to landscaping. But as regards signs and things, those are usually located away from where the building is. And so away means not on somebody's list of things to do. So, and I think maybe dead things look shabbier than just asphalt. And that's all I had to say. I really appreciate it. I've heard that y'all have worked really, really hard on this, and I really do appreciate the effort y'all have put in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zachary. Is there anybody else here tonight who would like to voice their opinion during the public hearing? If not, I'll close this portion of the public hearing, and just to remind, the way I'd like to do this tonight is to take the first 5 pages. If you have something, I'd like for you to make that in a motion that you'd like to change, and then we will vote on that. and then at the end, we will vote again on the overall with the amendments and or changes. So,
Is there, without knowing what's on every single page, are you gonna go through and just say, or are you just gonna wait for us to come up with stuff?
no, Kerry, I have a few issues myself, but, whatever issues, if you have an issue, be sure to make it in a motion, that way we can discuss it.
Well, I would bring up the issue of billboards. I do believe it is a important, cheap advertising alternative that business owners should have access to. I believe it's a peaceful business, it doesn't need to be outlawed. So I would move that section 12-11-A-1 and section 12-55 be excluded from this signage ordinance.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made by Justin and seconded by Nick to strike section 12, make sure I get this right, Justin, 12-11-A-1 and 12-55.
Are we going all the way to 55 right now? I know there might be,
12-A.
you just have to scroll through all the pictures.
Justin, what page is that second one on?
It is on page 17, but it covers the same topic, so I believe it should be made in the same motion.
Off premise sign.
Okay. All right. All right. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion among commissioners?
I think the only thing that I would say about both of those, billboards, you know, I understand they're valuable. I hate to get into a part where we take away frontage and someone can buy a 10 by 10 piece of land and put up a billboard in the middle of somewhere. And so I know we haven't talked about frontage yet, but off premise, you know, signage, didn't we talk about that before, Jeremy? Where it is, it's not allowable inside the city limits, just outside the city limits.
Talking about billboards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I mean, I haven't driven through many cities lately, but the frontage is what limits your sign. If you don't have enough frontage, you can't put up a big billboard. But if you're taking away frontage and you're taking away all that, you're gonna have people keep a square, I mean, it could be as small as 5 foot by 5 foot square feet piece of property, enough to put in the pole, and then they could have the biggest sign as they want. I learned that from putting up the sign before, I guess.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, are there any other comments on this?
I just really think we need to consider what we want Stephenville to look like down the road. I think that's very important, and I also think there is nobody sitting here that is in any more favor of attracting new business and being on board with the businesses that are here to help them be as profitable as they can. But we represent, all of us do, represent everybody in Stephenville. And not everybody in Stephenville is this pro-business. They're more concerned about the aesthetics and how they're gonna look and drawing people to town because of the way the city looks, and not coming to a city that has billboards up and signage and just let them do whatever they want to. And this ordinance that we're copying is Burleson, and I don't know if you've driven through Burleson lately, but it doesn't seem to be deterring anybody from going to Burleson, any business. They're booming. So
I would echo that. I'm in favor of business, a lot of businesses coming to town. I just think, you know, I don't know if we recommend to the city council and they do it, that 1 million billboards are gonna go up tomorrow. I don't think that. I'm not a doomsayer, but, you know.
I think to a certain extent, it's going to be cost prohibitive for many businesses to put up a billboard and maintain it month after month and year after year. So, but I also believe that if you do have something, I'm a free market kind of person. I think that it should be up to the business if they want to put up a billboard or not. I don't really know that we should say that you can't, so.
Are they limited to billboards that aren't, are privately owned by the business, or can a billboard company, can we have a Buc-ee's saying Buc-ee's in 168 miles? You know what I mean, if Buc-ee's can.
Depends on if Buc-ee's wants to buy the sign and put the sign up and pay for it,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I would certainly say that I also agree with property owner rights. I believe that, you know, signage is very important for a business. You know, Granbury's doing very successful. They have a lot of billboards. Fort Worth, Dallas, there's numerous cities all throughout the Metroplex that have numerous billboards, and their local economies are thriving. I also believe that the issue of the cost of advertising comes into play, and you know, television advertising, it costs $9.82 per 1,000 viewers. Newspaper advertising costs about $2.81 per 1,000 viewers, or per 1,000 readers. And billboard advertising only costs 2 cents per 1,000 views. So I believe this is an important, cheap advertising alternative that businesses need access to. So I don't think we need to outlaw this peaceful business.
Jeremy, I don't know all the zones, but like, can I sell 5 feet of my property in a residential area to a business, put up a billboard, or is that restricted?
Typically residential, most of that is restricted in residential for that.
So it is kind of combined to some sort of zones, B1, B2.
Right, and most of the time on, and I think, and I don't, of course I don't have my computer in front of me, but I think it tells you the allowed zones in there, based on the ordinance, the zoning ordinance. Most of them don't allow for residential.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
How many billboards are in Stephenville?
City worked real hard to get rid of
Get
a
rid
couple
of
of them, so I don't know.
15,
There's one by Taylor's Food, there's one by Danny's.
a couple down by the park, right there.
Not anymore.
I don't know if those
Yeah,
are
they're
called
gone.
billboards.
One's
By
gone.
Cooper's Feed.
We didn't even notice them leaving. I mean, I'm right there by the park now, didn't even remember them leaving. Does anybody know what's on the billboards right now? What advertisements are?
State Farm. It always has David Kincaid.
Because we got these billboards, we don't even know what's on the billboards. that we
Advertise
have.
here.
It's interesting.
All right.
Is that like a comment that they're not noticeable?
Well, I'm just saying with the.
They're not working.
I mean, they're not noticeable to me. I mean, I'm sure, I just can't remember driving by, and right now, I couldn't tell you what they're advertising today. And, that makes me think that they haven't been in my way.
Or they're not working.
Huh?
Yeah.
They're not
They're not
working.
Or they're not working.
Mhm.
And if they're not working, you know, whoever buys that billboard and buys that sign, you know, if they're losing money, they can take it down, so.
But they won't do that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you where all of them are.
No,
And, you know, they disappeared, and I didn't even know that they disappeared until just now.
Well, that's probably because we've had an ordinance in place for how long? That billboards were not allowed.
The current ordinance that we have was put together in 2002, and it says that billboards are prohibited.
So since 2002, they've been fading away.
I think it was,
Before
I think it was
that, I have no
2000.
idea.
The adopted ordinance that we had, maybe it was revised, but it's 2005.
2005,
On the way
correct.
out with all these
Just
cities.
I would also ask, Nick, as a business owner, as a manager, any friends and contacts that you have they ever advertised in the billboard medium, and have they experienced any positive results?
We did, on the one in Bluffdale, several years ago. We had a positive impact from it. I didn't gauge it. I had a lot of people say, I saw your billboard, but you know, after a certain amount of time, after you've seen it every day, it does start to fade away. But fortunately, we had that option at our ready, and it was an inexpensive method.
I don't know if it'd be technically a billboard, but one of the most famous ones that we'd be aware of is the Pretty Peggy Pepper one for swinging in Dublin, which adds value to the city, and tourism and all that kind of stuff. So
Sure.
Carrie. All right, the motion is, again, is on the table. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none.
And, Mr. Chairperson, I would also like to request a roll call vote.
Okay. Roll call has been requested by Justin. And, okay, Mr. Petronas,
Aye.
Woodrow?
So the vote is,
The motion is to,
delete these.
to delete sections 1211-A-1 and 12-15.
Sorry, 55.
Yes, I'm sorry, 55. Carrie?
I'll say nay.
Nick?
Aye.
Chairman votes yes. Lisa?
Nay?
Meta?
A.
Mr. Muncy?
Aye.
And Justin?
Aye.
Okay. And that motion passes 6-3. Now, we're gonna move on to pages 6 through 10.
Are we done with 1 through 5?
Yes.
Real quick, on the
Well,
board,
we're done with 1 through 5.
on number H, on page 3, where we have a Board of Adjustment,
Yes.
what was the reason for changing to Board of Adjustment? And you haven't continued the wording throughout the paragraph, Board of
Yeah,
Adjustment.
the wording after, and I will reword that before we take the council. The gist of that, we talked about that last meeting, and typically your variances from your zoning is gonna go to Board of Adjustment.
Okay.
And in May, Burleson had a different approach, they took it to council. Board of Adjustment would hear any variances to the zoning ordinance, and so.
Okay.
The first part in there, maybe the first 2 or 3 sentences is correct, some of the other stuff I'll probably just remove from that. So.
Okay.
Let me make a comment. I think the intent is that any appeal from the building official would first go to the Board of Adjustment. And I think the idea there is that possibly all the issues may well be resolved by the Board of Adjustment group, okay? Therefore, taking the monkey off of the city council will have to deal with it. Now, in the event that the or the individual making application isn't satisfied with the outcome of the Board of Adjustment, then at that particular point in time, then he would or she would have a right of appeal to the city council.
Not city council, we go to the court, we go to the court, so they.
That's not correct, Mr. Petronas.
Yeah, I'm correcting them, it won't go to city council, the only appeal from Board of Adjustment goes to the district court. So. And just for the sake of, clarification, after Board of Adjustment, agent representative affected by such decision, we can end it there, and the rest of it can go away, and so.
Jeremy, this is slightly unrelated, but why did we hear the variance case about the septic instead of the Board of
Because
Adjustment?
that's not a zoning, that wasn't a zoning case, that was a code and ordinance case, and you guys hear code cases, so.
Okay. The next section is pages 6 through 10. This one's pretty easy. It's nothing but descriptions. So, do I hear a motion on this section?
I move that we accept as written.
Second.
Motion has been made by Nick, and seconded by Justin to accept this section as written. Is there any discussion?
Does anybody remember any points of contention in this? I guess not.
I think there were. It's just definitions. Yeah.
It's just, they're pretty much definitions. It's pretty much cut and dried. So, all those in favor of accepting pages 6 through 10 as written, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Our next section will be pages 11 through 15. And I will entertain a motion on anything on this section.
I know we talked about motion. It doesn't limit, the motion of digital signs substantially, does it?
We weren't gonna put anything on there. I think something in there, if it does deem that it's distracting, the police chief would be the deciding factor on that. I did talk to the chief, and and I even reached out to 2 other cities, police chiefs, and they didn't have any reported accidents from digital signs being a distraction. So one being Cleburne, the other one being Mineral Wells. And I reached out to one of the chiefs that I knew out in Irving. I didn't get a response from him, but basically I haven't found any evidence of the distraction causing accidents.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Can I ask another question about premise signs, I guess?
Can you, is this in this section here?
11.
I'd like for you to make that in a motion, if you would. Then we'll discuss it. We'll make the motion, and then it will either be seconded or not, and then we'll discuss it.
I make a motion, we discuss premise sign.
Okay?
I second.
Which tab?
Let's discuss.
Which page is that?
11, it's at the bottom of 11.
All right. Motion has been made and seconded, made by Kerry Schindler, seconded by Lisa Latouche, to discuss premise signs. I'm sorry, to discuss the premise signs. Commissioners?
Is the first part you see primary or secondary frontage, and like we were talking about before, as Zachary brought up, the value of land, if you have a large frontage, kind of dictated the size sign you could have and all that. Is this in greater detail later in the section, Jeremy?
Well, most of the sign regulations as far as size is a standard size based on and just based on the type of sign, but it's typically like a 200 square feet. Doesn't matter about your property frontage. I think it allows for some height variations depending on if you're along like 377 or 281, but it's basically just a standard size for most of these. So frontage will not dictate the size of the sign.
And that's contrary to what's currently in place.
That's right.
I'll ask another question, and that's our recommendation, like, whenever was it not ever in here, the frontage was part of, how much road frontage you had?
In this particular ordinance, no. This was, and it varies depending on what city you're going to and what you're doing. I mean, I looked at quite a few of them. Some cities do it the way that we currently do it and calculate it out. Some cities just have a standard, number of square feet that's allowed. So when we decided to look at this one, this is what they allowed for.
So what's the pros and cons of just having a standard size?
You could have a small lot, 50 feet frontage. We'll use the example of Burger King that just came up. They had 100 feet. They're going to want to put up a sign. The maximum allowable sign that they would have been allowed would have been like 40 square feet. Well, I mean, Techstar Ford has 3 times that size because they have more frontage on their property. So, pretty much anything that Burger King wanted to put up, they were going to have to get a variance for because their lot was so small. Consequently, or on the other side of that, Sonic on the other side of the street has more frontage. So you're talking about 2 fast food restaurants that have 2 standards because of the size of the lot. So Sonic was able to have a bigger sign than Burger King unless they got a variance. So, there's still a variance process, that they can go through. So you could get a small lot and somebody put up a sign that's right next to a big lot and they have the same size. So
I know we talked about, using the variance process to kind of still dictate that at a minimum. If you have a business that has a small frontage, you have a minimum size sign that you could go to, 200 square feet or whatever. I don't know if that's currently in here, but that's how we had talked about last time, that we would still be able to regulate people coming in and just buying the front strip of a business and putting up billboard after billboard
I think
That was a variance.
your standard's gonna be a little different for billboards than what, you know, according to our, this ordinance, but typically like pole sign, it would be an on-premise sign. Billboards are not on-premise, but like pole signs, Burger King come in, they couldn't go put a pole sign out here in the plaza if they owned a piece of property, cause it wouldn't be an on-premise sign as far
We
as,
just did away with that,
what's that?
on premise, now you can do it off premise, anywhere you want.
You guys voted on it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so now our last recourse to stop something like that from happening is to at least have it where they can go to a variance board and say, hey, does this make sense for our city? You know, and I thought that's what we had discussed last time, but. I need to make a motion that we move to
Well-
end discussion.
Hang on just a second. Is there any other discussion on this? I would like for you to restate your motion. You made the motion to discuss premise signs. I'd like for you to restate that to a more concrete idea of what you'd like to have here.
Like I said, I thought, I was wondering if this was the only place that frontage was discussed. I think it is. And so my motion would be we add something to where it goes to a variance board, at least to keep the 99%, you know.
A variance board or a board of adjustment?
I don't know, I mean, Jeremy last time said they would.
Are we talking about frontage or are we talking about on-premise?
Well, no, on premise is already gone.
Off-premise is done.
We already voted on that.
Okay, so what are you looking for the frontage?
Or we could have,
You talking about the
some kind of
size, the
limit.
size of the sign again?
so where
Based on-
99% of businesses were fine and dandy, nothing had to happen, but that 1%, you know.
Well, I mean, if everybody's happy with the current sign ordinance, we can strike the size, but we're gonna have to do quite a bit of rewrite. We just have to table this thing. So, I mean, I'm open, I'll do whatever you guys ask me to do.
Well, I would say I think we probably need to accept this more business-friendly section as it's written. Because of our previous signage ordinance, we almost lost the Burger King development. I'm sure it's limited a number of others throughout the years. So if we pass this as it currently is, then Burger King would not have even been troubled as they were. And, you know, it's another example. The more business-friendly we can be, the easier success will be. And I think we need to do everything we can to welcome business to Stephenville with open arms.
What about the, you have the mom and pop store that's been around for 25 years, they have the little bitty footage, and then all of a sudden, big corporate place comes and they wanna put that big, they have a lot of frontage. How should I say this? Is there any defense for the small guy so he doesn't get covered up?
I think that's the chance they take. I mean, in a free market society, you can have a big sign here, and then depending on what the business next door wants, they can have as big of a sign up to the limits. So. Is there any other discussion?
I don't know how to
Kerry,
amend my motion. I
do you
don't
want-
wanna make an emotion that we have to rewrite stuff, so.
Do you want to pull your motion from the table then?
Well, no, we already did it. We already
No,
discussed it.
no, we didn't. We haven't voted on your motion yet. You made the motion to discuss, okay? So,
I'll pull it.
okay, can you make that an official motion, please?
To make a motion that
To pull,
that we
yes.
don't do the motion that we already did? Yes.
No, I need you to make a motion that you're going, motion to remove your previous motion.
I make a motion that we remove my previous motion.
All right, do I hear a second on that one?
I'll second
second by Bill Muncy. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? No. Thank you very much. Pages 16 through 20, we're close to home, folks.
This is nerves.
Do I hear a motion, on pages 16 through 20?
I move approximately on page 19, section 12-57-E, that we remove the requirement for the landscaping requirements around pylon signs.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion's been made by Justin to remove section, say that again one more time, Justin, section 12-57-E, and seconded by Nick. Is there any discussion on the landscaping issue? I'd also like to state that on page 17, it also states that under 1254 E talks about the landscaping as well. So since we're in discussion, I do not think that this should be mandated by the city. I think that if somebody wants to put in a sign, if they want to landscape around it, that should be up to their discretion. I don't think it's necessary for government, so to speak, to tell you that you have to landscape around that sign.
Then I would amend my motion to include both 12-54-E and 12-57-E.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been amended by Justin to remove sections 12-57-E and 12-54-E, seconded by Nick. Is there any discussions on this? Hearing none, I will.
Mr. Chairperson, I would also request a roll call vote on this issue as well.
Okay, roll call has been requested by Justin. Mr. Petronas?
Aye.
Woodrow?
Aye.
Carrie? Nick?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Mr. Muncy?
Aye.
And Justin?
Aye.
Okay. That motion passes 7-2. All right. Pages.
Do we have to make a motion for 1254 monument signs must be on premise, or are those going to be included in the off-premise motion?
Well,
1254A on page 17, the top of page 17.
well, I'm sorry, page 17, where?
Yeah, top of 17, it just says monument signs have to be on premise.
Where's the page before that?
17.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be
16, 17.
the same throughout the
So
document.
Carrie, what do you wanna do?
I think if one sign can be off, we shouldn't limit it to any signs. The monument signs can be off premise as well. I just wanna strike that. Strike A. I make a motion that we strike 1254A.
Must be, but don't you really want a monument sign to be on location if you own that building? Don't you want your sign to be on your property?
No.
You don't-
I mean, it's like a billboard, is a monument sign not
Put
like?
it anywhere.
Not the
Well,
same?
should no signs be anywhere then? Let's strike all locations.
The way I understand, and just for my clarity, I mean, the only motion that was allowed off premise was the billboard. We're gonna allow that.
All signs,
But those are still on premise unless you guys
Okay.
vote on those specifically. So all the other ones have their specific designation, whether they're on premise or off premise. And so if you wanna go through and go pole signs and monument signs and pull all those off premise, not recommended by staff.
That's fine.
I think everything else is on premise unless you guys vote for that, so. And if that's your guys' intent, you know, that's your guys' way, but
I'll rescind my motion then, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much, sir.
I just wanted to be rescinded.
All right,
I wanted to discriminate against the shorties.
there you go. Understandable, and I appreciate you not wanting to be discriminatory. All right,
Consistency.
we're almost home, I promise you on this one. All right, pages 21 through 25. Do I hear a motion to make any kind of changes?
I move that we remove section 12-80, section 12-81-D-1, 12-81-E-1. I further move that we modify 12-72-B-1 to replace city council with building official.
What was it last one?
Last one was 12-72-B-1.
Okay, motion has been made to remove sections 12-80, 12-81-D-1, 12-81-E-1, and modify sections 12-72-B-1. Comments from commissioners?
Like what Sherry said when she came and spoke earlier, that's what, we're talking about here, removing these restrictions.
I'm sorry, before we get to that, is there a second on this?
I second the motion.
Second by Justin, thank you, go ahead.
Sorry. So I think that by removing these, we're making it more business friendly.
Okay. Other comments?
if I can ask a question real quick, which section were we talking about? Were we talking about removing the building official and putting on
Yeah.
city council?
12-72-B-1, instead of it going to the city council, going to the building official, it seems to me like that's a lot to lay on the lap of the city council when we have a building.
We don't see it on there.
Yeah, I'm confused at
Right
what
here.
you're,
Right here.
Page 21.
What page is it? Do we have
21.
page?
okay.
City council may interpret.
21.
The city council may interpret the design guidelines. And what is he wanting to change that to?
To the building official.
Oh, right here.
Oh. All right,
I don't have a problem with that.
It just saying.
yeah, that's fine. Okay.
They can have it.
Okay, excuse me, is there any other discussions on the sections that Nick wants to?
So you want to eliminate all temporary signage regulation, basically?
The section, D-1 and E-1.
Mhm.
As well as 1280, which is the permit. I can't see going down and getting a permit to put a banner in.
I'll agree with that. We don't, our current ordinance
Yeah.
does not specify that a banner has to have a,
Permit?
permit, thank you.
Yeah.
So I can see where that would, to me, it doesn't make sense. If you wanna hang a banner up there, you shouldn't have to come down to city council and to get a permit and pay a fee, so.
Yeah, I agree, and typically, banners are not very, weather resistant, so they'll pretty much have themselves removed within a timely fashion. I don't think any business owner would keep, any ratty sign out in front of his business.
Don't go look at videos and more on Washington. There's a bunch that have ratty signs.
Is there any other discussion? 'Cause I know we have somebody that has a wedding anniversary tonight, and
Yeah, we can meet.
so, We're almost there, Mr. Muncy.
That's right.
We're almost there, Bill. I appreciate it. All right.
Don't rush on my account.
Okay. All right. The motion has been made by Nick and seconded by Justin.
And, Mr. Chairperson, if I could request again a roll call vote?
Yeah,
And
and actually, we should break this up into the 3 different components of what we're talking about here. We need to vote separately on each of these.
would you prefer to do that?
I would.
Okay, Mr. Nick, I'm gonna have to ask you if you have made, we need to vote on this one first. We need, per Robert's rules, we need to vote on his, and then we vote on, either that or you can take it off the table. I'm sorry, let me restate that. You can amend your motion, your current motion, to allow us to vote individually on each one of these.
Okay.
Done.
Okay. Are you stating that you want to
Yes.
amend? Okay, please tell us that.
Yes, I'll amend it to allow to vote individually.
Okay, so we are now going to take a vote on sections 12-80, which is the temporary signs. And this is to remove the whole section, correct?
Yes, all the
On the permitting.
requirements.
On the permitting requirement. And that would be, okay,
Page 24.
page 24. All right, all those in favor of section,
Justin asked for a roll
I'm
call.
sorry, Justin, did you want a roll call on this one too?
Yes, please.
Okay. Roll call vote on removing the permitting information on sections 12-80. Mr. Petronas?
Aye.
Woodrow?
No.
Aye.
Chairman says yes.
Nay.
Nay.
Bill?
Nay.
Aye.
One, two, three, 4. And this motion passes to remove 5-4. The next one we will have is sections 12-81-D1. You're gonna have to help me find this.
It's the maximum of 4 displays. per
Maximum
year.
of 4,
Sorry.
yes.
Okay.
It does vary a
Okay.
little bit sometimes, depending on-
Maximum,
Okay, okay.
Nick is making a motion to remove the maximum of 4 displays per year per certificate of occupancy. All those in favor of removing this item, please say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, and raise your hands, please, so we can, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, Mark?
Yes.
I believe Richard raised his hand as well.
Richard, did you raise your hand, Richard?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry. For all those against? 1, 2, 3. So this one passes 5 to 3. 6 to 3, sorry, 6 to 3. Sections 1281-E-1. Which one is that?
Page 25 at the top.
Mark,
Yes.
on that last motion, are you keeping number 2?
2 vertical banners per light pole.
Yes.
That was not in the motion,
Okay.
so that one stays. Which one?
12-81E1, time limitations at the top of page 25.
Okay, motion has been made to remove 12-81-D-1, the time limitations, a maximum.
E1.
D-1, that would be the
E.
E-1, I'm sorry. E-1, maximum 30 days with 60 days between displays for each separate certificate of occupancy. Is there a second on this one?
A second.
Okay, second has been made by Justin. Is there any discussion on removing this item?
So, after 60 days, they can take down, what signs are we talking about? I know these is
Banners.
temporary.
Banners?
After 60 days, they need to take them down?
No, we're removing them.
Or, yeah,
Allowing
if we
them to
leave
leave
this,
it up.
they have 60 days.
Correct, yes.
That's fine.
If we leave it, they can have it up year round.
Yeah, but without being able to permit it, then we don't know when it goes up and how long it's been there. Since we've already eliminated permits, we have no tracking mechanism.
Is there any other discussion on this issue? Hearing none, I will ask for a vote on this to remove the maximum 30 days with 60 days between displays for each separate certificate of occupancy. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Two, three. Bill, I didn't.
No, voted aye.
Okay, so that motion passes 6-3. And
Is that the last one?
Yeah, he did.
there's one more, this one. Oops. This would be section 12-72-B-1. 1272-B-1. It'll be location and bounding.
No, sir, that's the design guidelines, changing it from, city council to building
Oh,
official.
okay.
It's on page 21.
Page 21, got it, there. So the motion is to change from city council to Board of Adjustments? Building official, sorry, I can't read my own writing. All those in favor of changing this from having it go to city council to the building official, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None, passes, thank you very much. Sorry. All right, we're down to the last section, I promise you. This is pages 26 through 32. I have no questions on this. Do I hear a motion on this section?
I move that we accept as presented.
I second.
All right, motion has been made by Justin and seconded by Lisa to accept as presented. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Now, last vote on this. I'm now gonna ask for a motion to accept the sign ordinance with the changes and the amendments that we've made here in the last 45 minutes.
And forward to the city council?
To forward to the city council, yes.
I second the motion.
Sorry, motion has been, no, we voted on, no, remember
I don't think anybody made the motion.
we did
I mean,
one
did they?
vote for each separate one,
He's
and then
calling for one.
vote to approve all of them to send to the council. Motion has been made by Mr. Petronis and seconded by Justin to send the sign ordinance to the city council as presented with the changes that were made. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
All right. Thank you. That motion passes. And I'll entertain a motion to dismiss. Jeremy, is there anything else?
No.
So
That's it.
they-
All right, motion's been made to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Justin. All those in favor say aye.
254.
See y'all later.